Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Dustin Crace, and today we are going to do a game discussion. And yes, we're going to do a game discussion over this game right here, Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin, brought to us, of course, by From Software and Bandai Namco. I know this came out on the new systems. There is a version on the PS3 and the Xbox 360 as well, but it did come out on PC and PS4 and Xbox One. So, however you want to get this game, there are multiple ways to get it. This is sort of one of those, it's kind of something that I'm getting a little miffed with in this generation, which is taking an old game and sort of HD-ifying it, even though on the PS3 it was already HD. For the new console, and it's really become kind of a big growing trend, and it's something that is just getting a little bit out of hand this generation. When you look at the libraries of these new systems, a substantial portion of the library is games that's already been released on the previous system, and it's mind-boggling. But I went ahead and picked this version up because I got rid of my version of Dark Souls 2. I had the PS3 copy about a year ago, and if you're a follower of this channel, you know that my playthrough of that game did not go well. A little history, if you haven't watched my Demon Souls and Dark Souls video, I kind of dipped my toes into Demon Souls way back in the day. And was having an alright time with it, got frustrated with it, but, eventually I got to a point where I just couldn't progress anymore. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to put it up, I'm going to play something else, and then I never went back to it. Completely skipped Dark Souls. And then when when Dark Souls 2 came out, I decided, alright, I'm going to give this series a shot because everyone was talking about how great these games were, and I was like, maybe I just didn't hit me right. And I played Dark Souls 2, and it completely didn't hit me right at the time. I was extremely frustrated with the game, and I got a little annoyed with people telling me how much I should enjoy the game when I wasn't enjoying the game. It's one of those things where it's like, you just can't figure out what you're supposed to be enjoying about it. But I enjoyed the environments, and I enjoyed the exploring. It was just the combat and just the kind of the gameplay mechanics that really just turned me off at the time. So I made a very sort of damning video on the series and washed my hands of it. Took the game in, traded it in, and, wax on, wax off with it. And then I played a little game on the PSP called Brandish and absolutely fell in love with Brandish and decided I want to play something that's like this, again, kind of slow and methodical, and you have to kind of, really take your time in playing it. And lo and behold, the first game that popped in my brain when I said that was Dark Souls 2, which I didn't have the game anymore, so I looked on the shelf and I still had my copies of Demon Souls. So I said to myself, alright, since I already have Demon Souls, I'm going to throw it in and give it one last shot. And for some reason, the game just clicked. A couple friends got online and drugged me through some of the harder parts. I got through the game and had a great time with it. And then I went out and bought Dark Souls and played it and got through most of that game completely by myself. I think I just pulled in randoms to help me out, or NPCs. Steven got on and played with me for a little bit, but we really didn't do anything of import. And then I saw that this was coming out. I had some GameStop credit, and I remember just how much I despise this game. So I used a GameStop coupon for $50 and got this for $10. So I figured, even if I still don't like Dark Souls 2, because a lot of people talk about how this is the black sheep of the series because it's more linear, and they feel like it's just kind of dumbed down the series a little bit, which is funny because this is the one I had the most problem with, and people say this is the easiest one in the series, so go figure there. Duncan's got his new toy out there. That's what you're hearing, the squeaking. It was his birthday yesterday, and I got him a teddy bear, so he's out there probably ripping it to shreds as we speak. But anyway, so I figured, even if I just despise the game again, I only spent $10 on it. And lo and behold, I have to sit and think about this. I might actually like this one the best so far. I don't know. They're so similar that it's hard to say what I liked more. I like the environments in Dark Souls 2 more, because I liked the more outdoor, under the sunlight style of environments. And Demon Souls was very dark and very gray and, very overcast the entire time. And then Dark Souls had its moments of brightness and beauty, but it still was kind of a dark, you get a lot of underground dungeons and those kinds of places. Whereas Dark Souls 2, aside from a few places, it really does feel much more outdoorsy, I guess. And I really liked that. I really liked just the vistas that I would come up to. It really, really makes the exploration worthwhile. When you get through a hard section, you come across this area that just looks amazing. And that's one thing that From Software does really well, is make really gorgeous scenery to look at. So the one thing that they you can arguably that they don't do well is tell a cohesive narrative. And talking about storylines in these games is a bit difficult, because it depends on what you come across in your playthrough of the game and how many item descriptions you read and your own interpretations of the environment itself. This is not narrative-wise a traditional video game. It doesn't tell a traditional video game narrative where you sit and watch cutscenes after every boss battle and stuff like that. It's more about reading into the world, talking to all the NPCs that you come across and getting all their dialogue and kind of piecing it together yourself. So unless you go online and look at people's websites that have compiled all the lore of the games together, you can actually play through this game and miss huge portions of the storyline. And I'm sure I did. And actually, with this game, you can actually skip multiple bosses. I used a guide just to make sure. I wanted to try to find all the bonfires, which a lot of them in this one are. There's a lot more bonfires in this game than there are in Dark Souls 1, and a lot of them are really hidden. So you kind of got to do that. So that was one thing I wanted to do, which I did miss a couple because I didn't want to go back to the gutter. Which the gutter is basically Blight Town / what was it called in Demon Souls? That awful place where the big lake of poison. But anyway, I hate those environments where it's poison everywhere and it's a bunch of just mashed up wood that you have to walk across. Those are like the worst environments for me. I just hate them because it puts such a sour taste in my mouth playing through Demon Souls. Going off on that tangent, I just lost my train of thought. The narrative. You can actually miss complete bosses. So I wanted to find all the bonfires. I wanted to try to find all the bosses. So that's what I used the guide for. Not really like to help you get through the game. Because I don't really see how it would help you all that much. Really, you just kind of need like an item list and a boss list. And you're good to go. Because you really want to kind of explore the environments on your own. And it's so funny how playing Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and then Dark Souls 2 back to back, how my gameplay style has changed. Whereas in Demon Souls, I was very timid and very like, oh my god, you just come around a corner and you see these enemies and you know what they are and you're just like, fuck, I don't want to fight these things. I don't want to fight these things. And it was such like almost like pulling teeth sometimes. And then Dark Souls, I got a little bit more adventurous and okay with the battles. And, every now and then I'd still be like, ah, but And then in Dark Souls 2, I was just like, I'm going to go fight that thing. This huge hulking beast. I'm going to go fight that thing. And it would kill me, of course. And then I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go back and fight it again. So I feel like I'm completely ready for Bloodborne, which I'm not going to play right away, but I will play Bloodborne probably within the month. There's a couple other games, shorter games that I want to kind of knock out first. But yeah, from a narrative storyline perspective, I really like the lore and the atmosphere. The atmosphere of the game really tells the story a lot better than like sometimes the actual dialogue with the NPCs do. So to sit here and kind of talk about the storyline is a bit of a difficult task with the Souls series, because it really is like what bits and pieces you find yourself and how you kind of string it together. So kind of like Skyrim, depending on what you do in the game, or like Mass Effect, depending on what you're doing in the game, you can have a completely different experience. Depending on how much you explore and how much you talk to people and how much you read items, you can actually have a much more cohesive narrative experience with Dark Souls than I probably did, because I can't sit there and go through like all my items and read the descriptions. I can't do that. I'll go online and read about the lore from these websites that compile everything, but when I'm playing the game, I just can't sit there. I want to play the game. I don't want to sit there and read item descriptions all day long. So that's a minor caveat I have with the games. But some people like Steven, one second. You just can't have Glenlivet sitting there in a glass and not drink it. Some people like Steven, the Laggy Gamer, if you don't know who he is, has said that this type of storytelling draws him in more. So for some people, they really do enjoy that. But for me, when I'm playing the game, it doesn't bother me because I just want to play the game. But afterwards, I'm like, damn it, I want to know the storyline of the game. And like sitting here right now, I could tell you like bits and pieces and be completely wrong. And some fucking internet troll will get on there. Well, you obviously didn't do this, this, and this, you know. And some asshole gets on here and corrects me on it. But from what I pieced together, another very sort of somber and sad tale of a kingdom that the king decided to go a little bit out of his depth and basically destroyed everything. So kind of a similar story to Dark Souls 1, but I do need to go read the lore and really get the storyline, because I was actually really surprised after I made my Dark Souls video and I went and read the lore, and I was like, wow, I was really way off of that storyline. So it's going to be interesting to see what the actual history of this world was. The gameplay, if you've played a Souls game, you know what to expect here. The only thing is, you get ganged up more. Dark Souls is more of a one-on-one fight for the most of the battles, but in this one, it likes to throw swarms at you, and you'll handle it. Eventually, you'll learn how to handle it, but I really did feel like I was getting ganged up more in this game, and to be honest with you, I don't know if that's just Dark Souls 2 in general, because I didn't make it very far the first time I played it, or if it's just the Scholar of the First Sin edition that throws more swarms at you. But there's more bonfires, there's a lot more healing. Is like, with all the life gems and how quickly you can upgrade an Estus flask, healing in this game is like no problem whatsoever. So I can see how people would say this is a much, much easier game than Dark Souls 1, because bonfires, Dark Souls 1, when you see a bonfire in the distance, you're like, oh my god, it's an oasis. And this one, you turn a corner and there's a bonfire, and you're like, oh, there's a bonfire. So it's a bit of an easier experience, I guess, but it's still a fucking hard game. There's no way around it. The Souls games are just hard. And I can completely understand why certain people just do not want to do this series or do not like this series, because I was there. I was like, I'm done with that shit. I don't even care anymore about From Software. But then I gave it another shot and came back to it, and now I actually really, really, really enjoy the series, and I'm actually really looking forward to Bloodborne. On the graphics front, the game really benefits from being on a next-gen system in terms of its lighting. When you pull out that torch and you're in a dark area, it just looks phenomenal. Or when like sunlight streaks in through a window or something, it's just amazing looking. So the new lighting really looks nice. As far as the HDifying, I guess I didn't really notice much of a difference from Dark Souls 1. It still has that same Dark Souls Souls series, I guess I should say, minimalist style. Where, well, it's weird because some things are minimalist and some things aren't. Like the armors and the shields and stuff are very intricately designed, but then you'll get like a monster, which was probably one of my favorite enemies in the game, with the giants. They just have this really awesome minimalist design that is like, are they wood? Are they rock? You can't really tell. They just look really awesome, and yeah, it's a different sort of designs mindset, I guess, which I've been looking into more from Software games. When Alex and Steven and I go to Too Many Games, it's going to be kind of a fight because Steven and I are both going to be looking for the Kingsfield games and Shadow Tower and stuff like that. But looking back on From Software's titles, they've all had this kind of weird sort of minimalist approach to the design of things. So it's a design, that's gone back to the PlayStation 1. So commendations, not the right, maybe it's the right word, I don't know. It was a long day at work. God. But kudos to them for sticking to this sort of dark ambient world instead of like going completely crazy with the modern technology. But yeah, the lighting effects, it really benefits in the Scholar of the First Sin edition, being on the new systems. I can't speak for the PS3 or the 360 versions. I would assume they use the same graphical engine as the previous version, and they just add on the DLC into the package. That's what I would assume. But for the PS4 version, it really does kind of benefit from the additional heft of the PS4. And then lastly, the audio, the voice acting is all, really good, very kind of somber like the rest of the Souls series. The music, except when you're like fighting bosses, is mostly very somber music, which really fits with the environments and the atmosphere the game is trying to create. And I was actually really surprised because I beat this game yesterday. But while I was making my coffee yesterday morning, I was watching a video by the great Devil May Pi, and he was picking out his top 5 Nier soundtrack songs. And I was really surprised when I got to the end of the game and started seeing the credits roll, because there is some beautiful female vocals in this game and for the music. And I was really surprised when I saw Emmy Evans' name pop up. She's the one that did all the vocal work for the Nier soundtrack. And she also did some vocal work on Drakengard 3. So, but I guess I shouldn't be too surprised by that, because she's probably a very in-demand person, because she just has one of those beautiful voices that really just sells these worlds, like the Drakengard Nier world and Dark Souls. It goes with that sort of ruined world so well. It's kind of a weird thing to say, like she's a great vocalist for ruined worlds, but she really is. So it was really kind of a weird 1-2 punch with watching Devil May Pi's video and then seeing her name in the soundtrack titles. Now, the Dark Souls soundtrack gets nowhere near as good as the Nier soundtrack or the Drakengard 3 soundtrack, but but it's still kind of cool to see her name in the credits. So anyway, that is about it for Dark Souls 2. If I were to sit here and talk more about the game, I'd really just be rehashing my previous videos for Demon Souls and Dark Souls. So you can go watch those and sort of see the journey, I guess, to here. But yeah, it's a game that when I first played it, I absolutely hated it. And now I actually really enjoy the series and can't wait to play Bloodborne. And I honestly can't think of any other game in this room that's like that. I've got games that I've kind of avoided playing because I've heard things about them, but I've never really played a game and just absolutely hated it and then come back to it and absolutely loved it. So, like, what's some of your guys' games like that? Have you ever played a game that you just absolutely hated and then, like, a year or so down the road, it just starts clicking with you? I'd be interested in to see some of your guys' stories. But yeah, Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. I need to go back and do the DLC. I haven't done the DLC. I want to beat the game first, then I'll go back and do the DLC. I started doing the Sunken King, Crown of the Sunken King, and I was just getting frustrated. And I was like, all right, I just need to beat this game, because when I get towards the end of the game, I just want to kind of beat it, you know? And I'll just come back to the DLC later. But yeah, I had a great time with it, and you know, I've completely changed my opinion on the Souls series. So fantastic games, really fun to explore. However, if you don't like them, I completely understand. And maybe one day down the road, if it's like you and it really bugged me, or if, I mean, if it's like me, you know, not liking these games really bugged me for some reason, and I kept wanting to come back to them and stuff, and finally did, and really liked them. So if it bugs you, if you've played a game and you didn't like it and it bugs you, it annoys you that you didn't like that game, go back and give it another shot, because you never know, it might hit you the right way this time. So anyway, that is it for this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.